Why do men dress so quickly and women stay in bed? Jacqueline Smith was the flawless face of a generation, the angel who graced millions of screens with grace and strength. But behind the elegance and fame was a woman who endured 4 marriages, the unimaginable heartbreak of losing a child, and a relentless battle with breast cancer that demanded all her strength to survive. How cruel it is that a symbol of timeless beauty had to fight such brutal loneliness in the shadows. Don't look away. You won't believe what she had to endure. Loyal fans who have watched me on Charm. Jacqueline Smith was born on October 26, 1945 in Houston, Texas, into a family rooted in warmth, tradition, and quiet strength. The father was a dedicated dentist, and her mother a gentle homemaker, both of whom instilled in Jacqueline the lasting values of grace, integrity, and discipline. Growing up in a modest home, Jacqueline's childhood was not marked by luxury, but by a deep sense of belonging and care. Yet even in those early days, there was something different about her. A flicker in her eyes, a grace in her movements, a quiet yearning for something greater. She fell in love with ballet, not as a passing fancy, but as a calling. The discipline, the elegance, the expression. It gave young Jacqueline a voice before she ever spoke on screen. She trained diligently, spending long hours in the studio where each movement became a brushstroke of the identity she was beginning to shape. It wasn't just dance, it was freedom, it was hope, it was a glimpse of the woman she was meant to become. People who knew her then remember a girl with poise beyond her years, someone whose presence lingered in a room even after she had left. Ballet was her first dream, but it would soon lead her to something even bigger. That spark, lit quietly in childhood, would carry her out of Houston and into the heart of Hollywood. Jacqueline Smith's journey into the spotlight was anything but effortless. Her rise began not with glamour, but with quiet persistence and humility, taking on small roles in television commercials for products like Listerine and Breck shampoo. Apart from the bright lights of stardom, these humble beginnings demanded that she prove herself every step of the way. She was not handed fame. She earned it through patience, perseverance, and grace under pressure. One of her earliest heartbreaks came when she auditioned for the role of Victoria Winters in Dark Shadows, only to be passed over in favor of another actress. For many, that might have marked the end of a fragile dream, but not for Jacqueline. That very disappointment became a strange twist of fate, as the same actress who took the role, Kate Jackson, would later be the one to introduce Jacqueline to the producers of what would become her greatest breakthrough, Charlie's Angels. When she was cast as Kelly Garrett in 1976, few could have imagined how deeply that role would etch her into pop culture history. But Jacqueline didn't simply play a character. She embodied an ideal of strength, intelligence, and grace that transcended television. And while the fame came quickly, the pressure behind the scenes was relentless. Jacqueline became the only angel to remain with the series throughout its entire 5-season run, a testament not only to her talent, but to her endurance in a demanding high-stakes industry. Yet even after Charlie's Angels, the road ahead was not paved in gold. She had to fight the common perception that she was just a pretty face. With roles like Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy and Rachel in Rage of Angels, she poured herself into complex performances that demanded emotional depth and subtlety. These roles weren't given out of admiration. They were won through grit, discipline, and an unwavering desire to grow. Her leap into business was no less challenging. Being a fashion line with Kmart in 1985 was considered a risky move for a celebrity at the time. Many doubted her, some even mocked the idea. But Jacqueline refused to be a name on a label. She rolled up her sleeves, worked on designs, and made sure the brand reflected her personal standards. Though she faced criticism and scrutiny, she responded not with excuses, but with refinement. the improvement, constantly listening. Her career is a portrait of resilience, not just because of what she achieved, but because of everything she overcame to get there. Fame never shielded her from struggle. It only made her rise more remarkable. We have 2 years, I think, and it's in our home today. There are chapters in Jacqueline Smith's life that are almost too heartbreaking to speak aloud. It's so profoundly painful, so emotionally unforgiving, that they seemed almost too cruel to be real. Behind her warm smile and timeless grace was a world that knew deep sorrow, aching loneliness, and unimaginable endurance. One of the most devastating of those chapters was the loss of her stepson, Joe Cole, the son of her second husband, actor Dennis Cole. Joe's life was tragically cut short at the age of 30. In an incident that left Jacqueline emotionally shattered. Though not her biological child, she had loved him as her own, and losing him was a heartbreak so deep it forever changed her soul. She mourned not with noise, but in silence, with strength that masked the unbearable weight of her pain. But fate was not yet done testing her. In 2003, Jacqueline was diagnosed with breast cancer, a revelation that arrived like a cruel ambush, stripping away any illusion of safety. It was a moment of terrifying clarity, the kind that splits life into two halves, before and after. In that instant, she was no longer the invincible icon adored by millions. She was a woman staring into the abyss of fear, fragility, and the unknown. There were no rehearsals for this role, no retakes, only raw vulnerability and the dreadful understanding that survival would come at a cost. She underwent surgery, radiation, and faced days so excruciating that even hope itself seemed to falter. And yet Jacqueline fought, not with spectacle or desperation, but with quiet, determined dignity. She found strength not in public applause, but in whispered prayers, in the steady hand of her husband, Brad Allen, and in the unwavering love of her children. Her pain was real, but her courage was relentless, and that courage became her most powerful legacy. Throughout her treatment, Jacqueline never gave in to bitterness. She did not ask, "Why me?" She simply faced forward, breathing through the storm, allowing the darkness to teach her where the light truly lived. She found solace in the smallest moments: handwritten notes, soft music, the smell of home-cooked meals, and the warm embrace of those she loved. These were the things that held her together when everything else felt like it was falling apart. After overcoming cancer, Jacqueline made wellness a lifelong priority. She embraced a clean, balanced lifestyle, one grounded in organic vegetables, green smoothies, and mindful eating. She didn't chase perfection, but pursued vitality, allowing herself occasional indulgences while staying anchored in consistency. Her exercise routine included yoga and lightweight training, which kept her strong, flexible, and at peace in her own skin. Jacqueline also prioritized deep, uninterrupted sleep and a thorough skin care regimen with natural oils, moisturizers, and rituals of self-care that reflected her deep respect for her body and spirit. Her beauty, even at 79, wasn't magic. It was discipline, love, and healing lived daily. But perhaps the cruelest twist in Jacqueline's story came not from illness or grief, but from time itself. As she aged, a different kind of loneliness crept in. Not dramatic, not loud, but quiet, persistent, and deeply human. The spotlight that once celebrated her faded. The voices of old friends grew still, and she was left with memories, some beautiful, some piercing. Many of her peers had vanished from the public eye, or passed on, leaving her to carry a legacy that often felt too heavy to bear alone. Yet even in that solitude, she refused to be defined by absence or loss. Jacqueline turned her journey into something greater, a source of strength for others. She became a beacon for breast cancer awareness, not by preaching, but by gently offering her truth. She gave interviews not to seek sympathy, but to share hope. She supported research, spoke at events, and reminded women everywhere that even the darkest diagnosis could reveal hidden wells of strength. Her public appearances may have grown fewer, but her spirit only grew brighter. At 79, she carried a light untouched by vanity or fame, a glow born from surviving what should have broken her. Every scar, every wrinkle, every quiet day she spent in gratitude was a badge of honor, proof that she had lived deeply, felt deeply, and endured what most could not even imagine. Her home became her sanctuary, not a place of hiding, but of reflection. There, with Brad by her side and the laughter of grandchildren filling the air, Jacqueline found peace that no spotlight could provide. She read, she listened to music, she wrote thank-you notes by hand, small, deliberate acts of grace that spoke volumes about the woman she had become. To the world, Jacqueline Smith will always be Kelly Garrett, the angel who inspired millions. But to those who truly understand her story, she is something far greater. She is proof that true beauty is born in adversity, that elegance is forged in fire, and that grace, real enduring grace, is found not in moments of ease, but in the quiet triumph of the human spirit over heartbreak. Her story is not just inspiring, it is profoundly human. It reminds us that behind every icon is a soul who has wept, who has feared, and who has risen time and time again. Jacqueline Smith didn't just survive the cruelty of fate, she transformed it into compassion, into purpose, into something transcendent. And that, more than any role, any accolade, any spotlight, is her most extraordinary achievement. In education, I'm very proud of this relationship. After all the turmoil, trials, and triumphs, Jacqueline Smith's life emerges not just as a story of survival, but of meaningful legacy, from her groundbreaking presence on television screens to her fearless leap into business, from her passionate advocacy for women's health to her unwavering dedication to family. Jacqueline has become more than a star. She is a symbol of timeless dignity. Her influence reached across generations, redefining what it means to be both powerful and gentle, visible and graceful, vulnerable and unstoppable. She didn't just wear elegance, she embodied it in every choice she made, both public and private. She redefined the way society viewed aging, beauty, and resilience, proving that authenticity never fades. Through every chapter of her journey, she has offered her audience more than entertainment. She has given them courage, reflection, and above all, truth. Her bold foray into business was not a vanity project. It was visionary. In 1985, Jacqueline Smith became one of the first celebrities to launch a fashion line in collaboration with a major retailer, Kmart. While many scoffed at the idea of a Hollywood star selling clothing in a discount store, Jacqueline saw something deeper, the opportunity to bring affordable elegance to everyday women. She was involved in every detail, from fabric selection to design silhouettes, ensuring that the pieces reflected not just her name, but her spirit. Her line quickly became a bestseller, not because of marketing hype, but because it genuinely resonated with women who saw her not just as a star, but as someone who understood them. This success led to further expansions. Jacqueline launched her own home decor collection, offering bedding, bath, and furniture products that reflected her signature warmth and refinement. Her goal wasn't just to sell products, it was to share a lifestyle of comfort, beauty, and authenticity. Each item was touched by her design eye and deep understanding of what made a house feel like a home. In 2008, she collaborated with Paula Young and famed stylist Jose Aber to create a revolutionary line of wigs, designed not just for style, but for dignity. These wigs gave confidence back to women facing hair loss due to illness or age. When Jacqueline's involvement wasn't superficial, she helped shape everything from texture to tone, to ensure natural, wearable beauty. This line wasn't about vanity, it was about healing, empowerment, and reclaiming identity during life's most vulnerable chapters. All of this, the fashion, the home, the hair, was more than just business. It was legacy. Jacqueline Smith built a brand that reflected her values, accessibility, empathy, and timeless grace. Her work became an extension of her soul, and the millions of women who wore her clothes, decorated their homes with her designs, or regained confidence through her wigs, felt deeply connected to her. Not just as a celebrity, but as a woman they could trust, even beyond product lines. Jacqueline's philanthropic heart never stopped beating. She became an active voice in breast cancer awareness, not simply as a survivor, but as a living example of what resilience looks like. She supported research, participated in documentaries like 1 Minute, and quietly mentored countless women facing the same diagnosis she once did. She showed the world that beauty isn't diminished by scars. It is revealed through them. In Hollywood, she received numerous accolades, including multiple People's Choice Awards and honors for her influence in fashion and wellness. But Jacqueline never sought awards. She sought impact. She turned down offers that felt disingenuous and aligned herself only with projects that spoke to her truth. Rare integrity made her stand apart, not just in show business, but in life. Her legacy also lives through her family. Her son, Gaston Richmond, followed in his father's footsteps as a filmmaker, and often credits his mother's quiet strength as the guiding light in his creative journey. Her daughter, Spencer Margaret, inherited Jacqueline's artistic eye, and together they created Spencer by Jacqueline Smith, a children's line inspired by Jacqueline's granddaughter, Bee. This project wasn't about profit. It was about passing down values of creativity, love, and generational connection. Jacqueline's role as a grandmother may be her most cherished. She speaks often of the joy found in quiet moments, reading with her granddaughters, watching them play in the garden, or simply holding their hands during evening walks. Her legacy is not just what she did, but how she lived, with gentleness, wisdom, and a heart open to wonder, even after everything she's been through. Today, she remains a radiant presence, not just in Hollywood, but in the homes and hearts of people across the globe. She shares life updates with fans through social media, never boasting, only sharing, whether it's a wellness tip, a photo from a family gathering, or a heartfelt note on surviving life storms with grace. She inspires not with grandeur, but with genuineness. Jacqueline Smith has become more than a name. She is a feeling of comfort, strength, and timeless class. She has taught us that it's not about avoiding hardship, but about facing it with beauty and intention. She has shown that true elegance is quiet, that influence is earned, and that legacy is not in the applause. It is in the lives we touch. In honoring Jacqueline Smith, we don't simply applaud a career, we salute a soul. Her poise under pressure, her empathy in loss, and her willingness to rise again and again form a portrait of womanhood that speaks louder than any scripted line ever could. She reminds us that a true legend doesn't just leave behind memories on the screen, but footprints in the hearts of those who watched, admired, and loved her from afar. Now at 80, Jacqueline Smith continues to defy time, not just with her youthful radiance, but with the unwavering grace that defines her every step. While the world remembers her as the unforgettable Kelly Garrett, the truth is far deeper, far richer. Jacqueline Smith is no longer just an icon. She is a living embodiment of perseverance, humility, and quiet brilliance. Her days are now spent in the warm embrace of the life she fought so hard to protect. Mornings filled with wellness rituals, gentle movement, and gratitude. Afternoons surrounded by family laughter, garden strolls, and treasured conversations. In the privacy of her California home, Jacqueline cherishes a slower, more intentional rhythm. Her husband Brad, ever her partner in health and joy, remains a steady presence, encouraging her walks, light exercises, and plant-based meals that fuel both body and spirit. Her children and grandchildren are the center of her world now, and she often shares glimpses of their lives together. Baking cookies, playing board games, or simply sitting quietly in shared presence. These are the moments that give her days meaning, not premieres or headlines, but real, honest connection. Yet even in this quieter phase of life, Jacqueline Smith remains deeply present in the world. Her online presence is a reflection of her authenticity. Soft reflections on aging, candid memories from her career, uplifting messages to women navigating illness, grief, or the loneliness of growing older. She posts not to be seen, but to be of service, and in doing so, she remains a companion to millions who still look to her for comfort, courage, and calm. What is most remarkable about Jacqueline Smith at 80 is not how young she looks, though that in itself is stunning, but how deeply she still feels. Her soul has not been hardened by the industry, nor dulled by fame. It has been tempered like fine silver, made stronger and more luminous by the fire it has endured. She is living proof that grace deepens with age, and that beauty, the kind that matters, cannot be erased by time. Her story, more than ever, reminds us that the real legacy lies not in the roles played, but in the lives touched. That even after decades in the spotlight, the most meaningful applause is the silent admiration of those who see themselves in your strength. Jacqueline Smith has taught us that living beautifully has nothing to do with perfection, and everything to do with purpose. She shows us that it's possible to rise again and again without ever becoming hardened. That softness can be power. That aging is not the end of relevance, but the beginning of resonance, and that the life you build in the shadows after the cameras fade may just be your greatest masterpiece. Now let us ask you something more personal. Have you ever unexpectedly seen her again, out in the real world? Maybe on a screen, or perhaps in person, walking with the same elegance, smiling with the same warmth? Because even now, Jacqueline Smith is still that angel. Still graceful, still luminous, still the woman who once lit up your youth, and now, perhaps, lights up your sense of hope. If her journey has stirred something in you, if her quiet strength has given you hope, or her timeless spirit has reminded you of what truly matters, we invite you to share your thoughts. Leave a word of gratitude, a memory, or a moment that Jacqueline's story brought to mind. Let us keep her light alive, not only as the angel the world once knew, but as the extraordinary woman who still inspires us all. Her journey is not behind her, it's within us, and in that way, Jacqueline Smith will always be unforgettable.